Hi, everyone, and I'm really, really glad to have you here with me today. It's an absolutely gorgeous day in New Hampshire, so I can understand why there are people who don't want to play today, but they've signed up and they're going to have the recording after this is over. And I just want to tell you all that you don't always have to be here, but if you want the recording, if you just sign up, we'll send it to you. Okay, that's just a part of the registration. Anyway, so take a deep breath. I guess I'm talking to myself more than anybody. I start the process for this very early in the morning and I get kind of jazzed because I get excited about all of us being together and what's possible for us all. So the first thing, well, first of all, I don't know, for those of you that are new, what I ask you to do is write on unlined paper, okay? And the first thing I want you to do is that I want you to take a deep breath and I want you to write what motivated you to come today. Just give yourself a couple of sentences. Why did you choose to come today? I want you to have this conversation with yourself. It's just going to be about a minute. Take a deep breath.
Can I ask what the title of it is, the workshop?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm sorry. I should have said that right in the beginning. Welcome to Becoming You. What are you hoping for? Another moment. So the first thing I want you to look at today is this word, and I can't believe I didn't say welcome to becoming you, all right? Because the first thing I want you to look at today is the ing of becoming, all right? Becoming, ing. Whenever you see that word, it's a verb, okay? It's making anything before it a verb, and a verb is action. There's action to becoming you. When we first get here on the planet, we're this little tiny, 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 tiny little speck of energy, the seed of us, the seed of life that is us. And that little bit of energy is alive and it's moving, it's motion, it's action. Becoming you, becoming is about action. It's a process. So we're going to talk today about what that process is, how it gets stuck, and how we can unstick it to move it forward. When we're born, okay, when we're born, we're this little glob that's being held. And when we're being held, we don't know what this is or what this is. We think the whole thing is one big glob. So I'm holding the baby. When I was the baby, okay, when any of us were the baby, we didn't know that this was separate. We thought this was all one big glob. And then as we turned to be like around 6 months old, we started doing things. And you probably notice this if you've ever held a child. You're holding the child and the child's going like this, you know, like hitting you. And what the child is doing is the child is recognizing, oh, you're this glob and I'm this glob. That's what they're doing. And it may be earlier than 6 months or a little bit later, but we're just going to use the general times. So the baby is doing like this, and it's like, oh, that's you. You're that glob, and I'm this glob. So that's an external idea of self. And then when the baby's around 18 months old, okay, it starts with this no, no, me do, mine. And what it's getting in touch with a sense of itself internally. It's experiencing an internal sense of self and a knowing that, no, I don't want that. And it's a big burst. It's a big burst forward. And so many people sadly think that that's the terrible twos. What it is this kid's coming alive to self. They're coming alive to who they are. It's a gradual process. That's why I want you to pay attention to the ing, becoming. A lot of times when people talk about self, or find your bliss, or find your passion, they make it sound like you're this done deal when you got here, and you should know what it all is. You just have to unwrap this done deal. Well, we're not a done deal. We're like a seed. We are a seed of life, just like any plant that you see in the spring. And it's up to us to grow it. It's going to keep moving. It's going to keep moving because the life force always is moving. And that seed that is us, that glob that is us, that soul, that essence that is us, is going to keep moving. It's going to keep growing. What happens to us is we get taught to squash that down. We get taught to squash that life force down. It starts right from the very beginning, right from the very beginning. I mean, how many times have you seen a 2-year-old being kind of punished or disdained or whatever because it's not doing what everybody wants? Because it's exploring, it's learning about self. Now, I'm not saying that we should let kids be inappropriate and we don't have to teach kids some limits, but there's a judgment that goes with it with a lot of people about, I've got to teach that kid some respect. Well, respect at 2 years old is way out of line. That's like saying I got to teach the kid Chinese today, you know? It's not about respect. You gently teach the child how not to hit. That's not a good idea, but you do it with lovingness and an understanding that that's that internal essence that's growing. They're having a sense of who they are internally. Does this make sense? And we all have that. We all have that inside of us. And what we did was we got a lot of layers that told us we got to block that. We got to put the lid on that. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, about undoing that lid. I know I've talked about it before in other workshops, but it's so important, so very, very important. So the baby learns, I'm not this, I'm this, when they start with the hitting. And then at 18 months with the no, 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 they're starting to have a sense of who they are. So I'm going to ask you a question to write about right now, and I'm going to give you 3 minutes to write about it. And this is kind of a hard question to answer, I think. But I want you to trust what's the first thought that comes to mind and just explore it. What is the first memory that you have of being an individual? What's the first memory that you have of being an individual? Take a deep breath. It's like, oh, this is me. This is me. Let yourself go wherever the writing wants to go. If chocolate fudge comes up, just write those words down and just explore it. What's your first memory of being an individual? I'm going to give you 3 minutes to write on it. You cannot do this wrong. There's no wrong about it. This is an exploration. So if any of you came on late and don't understand what's going on, just put a note to me in the chat and we'll catch you up. So I'm going to give you one more minute. Okay, begin to wrap up. Great. Take a deep breath. Obviously, you don't have to share if you don't want to. Oh, I see Donna I. Hi, sweetie. Welcome. You don't have to share if you don't want to, but is there anybody who wants to share anything from what we first started talking about, like what motivated you to come today, or what is your first memory of being an individual, like what works for you about what we've talked about, what doesn't? Laurie, great.
So it's interesting that you asked about, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first about the individual, because it was a really like very profound moment for me. And I've always remembered it. And I've told people about it. And nobody ever seemed quite as, excited about it as I did, but whatever. They didn't get it. But so I was sitting in the backseat of the car going to New York City with my family. We lived about an hour away. And I was about, I can't remember how old I was, maybe 5. I don't know. Anyway, all of a sudden it hit me that I'm Lori and I'm never going to be anybody else. Like, this is it. This is who I am for forever. Because, and it seemed like a brand new idea. Like, I don't somehow, even though I never thought of it that way, like I had been thinking that I could be that everybody, there were so many people, I could be anybody. I could be this person, I could be that person. But that day I realized, no, it's just me. And I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Can you remember how it felt?
It felt very, it was not a good feeling. I felt scared and kind of closed in, like, oh, this is it. Like, this is it. This is all I have is this.
So Lori didn't feel like a good thing to be?
Right. It didn't feel, I felt like, oh, I wish I had known. I would have chosen somebody else. Or like, somehow I just thought, I didn't know if I thought I could have chosen somebody else, but I thought, oh, like this is going to be it. I'm Lori, and
This is
I'm
gonna be it. This.
right. This, I'm never going to be anybody else.
So what that says is already you had some ideas that that wasn't such a great thing to be.
Yeah.
God bless her.
Yeah. Anyway, so
That's
yeah.
a great, great, great share. Anybody else have any thing they want to share? No? Okay, Bonnie.
Well, thank you. I was glad Laurie shared about being 5 because I have so very little memories of childhood, and I thought I was trying to force myself to remember something when I was younger than that. I'm not going to list anything, but what's really strong in my list is that I'm alone and afraid, and the things that I remember.
Oh, so that feels like kind of a core thing, like a core knowing about you. In individuality, you were scared because there was nobody else but you.
Well,
Nobody was going to help you.
In each instance, it's like something bad is happening and I'm alone, or
Okay.
nobody helping me or something.
Okay. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else want to share? Teresa, it's good to see you from Mexico. Can you turn on the, have you got your sound on? We can't hear you.
Now you can hear me.
Now we can hear you.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. I'm so happy to be here, Irene. And I thank you for saying me good morning. I had such a strange morning. I just awaked. It's Sunday morning. It's 9 o'clock. It's quite early. No, it's not early. But I slept. That never happened. So the first thing was put on my phone because last night I was reading very well your invitation for today, and I answered all the questions. And I answered all the questions. I had such a clear moment, and it was so helping me that the answer are really deep inside, but I could read them all, and the answer was all the same of being me. Just I am as God created me. If I have that question, and lately I'm working so hard to remember me that question, and it was so easy to yesterday night when I answered your questions to realize that. So that is why I'm here. And
Nice.
then, yeah, it was very nice. And now, your question of now, my first thought coming up, okay, that is, you know a little bit my story. It doesn't matter. But I came to my mind that when I was, I think, about 14 years old, it was not so really a very early memory, it was that what is it? What is it all about in this world? What do I have to do in this world? And that is a question which is always staying with me because I always find an answer to that question. But always the answer did not help me anymore. It was not a good answer and it changed. And it's always there. And lately, I know more that the only question is I am here because I am the God created me. And that is my lesson of all my life to get that clear. It was a nice.
Teresa, do you mind telling everybody how old you are?
I'm in my 80s,
Right.
83, about that age.
And you were born in Holland, and you migrated to Mexico.
Yeah, I lived half of my life in Holland. The first 40 years, and the second 40 years here in Mexico, in a little village in a nice area, and I have a very good life because I'm slowly in my life. I'm I'm getting more stronger and being more myself and being very happy and very
And
yeah.
and she's and Chase is a single woman in Mexico. She did these adventures as a single woman. I just have so much admiration for you. So I'll just tell them a little bit. We met on a retreat. She was my roommate, and she's like a pretzel with yoga. You know, I get up thinking, "Where's the coffee?" And she's doing rollabouts like on the floor in the room, and I'm feeling like this slug, while this one has got her hand, you know, legs around her neck kind of thing. She's an amazing, amazing human being and a fabulous, fabulous role model.
Okay.
So when you were having this sense of I am, and you were answering those questions, were you feeling it in your body? Like it wasn't just an idea, but it was like, here's my truth. This is me.
I don't know. I think there is the connection which I'm looking for, but I still don't have that really strongly. There are some moments, but I know in my head I'm so a mental woman also that I know a lot of answers, but it's always that but I think I coming to more close by that. That's to feel it really.
Like it's starting, you're starting to get there.
Yeah, I think there's so much fear always in me to really feel that, because then I have to get rid of a lot of things in my life and a lot of nice things what I can do in my life, a lot of nice contacts I have, activities which are not important anymore when you find who you are. And I still like life so much.
Oh, you mean you think you have an idea that if you find out who you really are, that that's the end of it all?
A little bit, not the end. I know here that it's not true,
But
but
there's some fear about it?
yes, I'm afraid of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm so addicted, I think, to have fun and to be happy and to have a nice food. We had a very nice, pleasant dinner last night with some nice friends, and I enjoyed things like that so much. And to be with other people, and also I like very much to be alone. And I think it will be different if I'm have really that feeling of who am I and live that life. Yeah. Okay. One
Thank
day.
you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
So I know a lot of people are afraid to find out who I am because they're afraid that if I really, really go deep, I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to like who I am, that I'm going to find that I'm not who I want to be, or that there's something not okay with me. Um, I just have to say today's I don't believe that if I find out who I really am, I can't still party and play. I plan on doing that like right to the end. Okay. And maybe on the other side, I'm hoping that there's a lot of partying on the other side. Anybody else want to share? It doesn't have to be, you know, profound. Hi, Donna.
Hey, good morning. How are you? Um, so a couple of things. The first one is I just wanted to say the one reason I wanted to join today is like the email, those questions spoke to me. I think I feel um, like I know who I am, but I struggle with feeling good about who I am. I struggle with acceptance. There's always this sense that I'm slightly off somehow, or like it's like no matter what I do, I always have this inner sense that I've chosen the wrong thing, I've made the wrong decision somehow, and not even like the big things, just even small things, like I've somehow made the wrong decisions. I wish I had done it better. I wish I had done something different. It's really that acceptance. So I'm always feeling I've never felt fully settled. Like I think I really have gotten a lot better at knowing who I am. and trying to accept it, but there's always this uneasiness. Like I've never fully accepted. I compare still. I just, there's still this seed of not good enough inside of me. And I think that's, I'm hoping, as I age and grow, that eventually will be like lessened.
You froze, honey. Donna, you froze. No, we can't.
Donna, try turning off your video if you don't mind, just because that might help the audio, and then we can at least hear you if there's a problem with the Wi-Fi.
Can you, okay? No. I'll rejoin.
You gonna rejoin? Okay, okay.
Okay, so what I want to say about what Donna said is that we're going to be looking at that exactly in a little bit in another exercise. And Rebecca, I saw in the chat that you also met Tracy in the same retreat, right? Right. Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody else want to share? We can get back to Donna. Okay, go ahead, finish, Donna. Donna, what I said was that we're going to be talking about exactly what you talked about a little bit later on.
Okay.
And what you had, can you remember that first moment when you, or a moment when you first realized you were you, an individual?
Well, so when I first joined, that question was up, and the very first thing that came to my mind was I remember being very little in my home that I grew up in, coming down the stairs. I must have been 3 or 4 years old. And I don't know if my mom asked me to or if I just did it, but I lifted up my shirt and showed my belly button, which doesn't have a belly button in it. It's been a scar since birth because of a birth situation. And I remembered that I was different. That's what I remember, that I was different. I wasn't like everybody else. And that's when I felt like, I don't know, it was kind of like, hey, look at this,
You were excited to show it.
I was excited to show it. I don't remember feeling ashamed to show it, but I don't know if my mom asked me or if I just did it, but that was, I think, the first time where I realized, hey, I'm different. I have something that most people don't have. So I think at that point I knew I was me. And
So
yeah.
would you be willing to do a little thing with me?
Sure.
Okay, so close your eyes. Take a deep breath. So you see that little one that says, I'm different?
Yes, I do.
So you as an adult, ask that little girl, what decision did she make about life right there? First thought that comes to mind. Don't overanalyze it. Just let the first thought come out, even if it doesn't make sense.
The first thing that she made, the first decision, a decision that was made was, well, I can't really, I can't think of anything.
You can't think of anything that she thought. I want her to tell you. What decision did you make about life right there, sweetheart, when you saw that your belly button was different?
I guess I made a decision. I think I thought I was different. I wasn't.
Is different okay with you at 3? Does it feel like it was okay with you at 3?
I think it was.
Yeah, there you go.
I think it was okay
At
that
3.
I was different, but I really didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
I didn't
But there
really
was no
know.
judgment about it at 3.
I know I did. There wasn't any judgment, so I can't figure out like a decision at that age because
It's okay.
I
That's
think I
okay.
was just open and
So her decision was life is good, this is okay, and I got this belly button that's different, right?
Yeah, it was okay to show it. It was,
So somewhere, okay, you can open your eyes.
yeah,
sweetie.
it was like, it was okay. Like
Yeah.
different, it was okay. And
And that's a part of me.
that's a part of me. But it wasn't, it didn't stay that way, for sure.
So somewhere between then and today, when you're learning about you and feeling like you're not quite doing it right, something changed. That 3-year-old was in touch with her essence.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, she was delighted. You don't have
She
to
was,
judge that
she
memory.
was, she was
Here I am.
fun and funny and had crazy curly hair and loud and always laughing and full of
Vivacious.
joy. And yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
But so I was okay at that point, I think.
Yeah, you can
I
feel
knew
that.
I was different. My
You
hair
can feel
was
that in your body.
I was different. My hair was different. My presence was different. My body was different. Yes, I just knew I was different. That was okay then, but it wasn't always. Definitely not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you wonder about the flowers in the garden in spring, right? Like, could you imagine like a daisy's growing, then it looks over at I don't know, a poppy and goes, oh, I'm not like you. There must be something wrong with me, right?
Something wrong, right?
Yeah, I'm not even the same color as the other daisies. Oh my God, how did I screw this up? Right?
Yeah, right.
It's
What's
what
the
we
matter
do.
with me?
It's what we do, like all day
Mhm.
long, all day long. Thanks for sharing, honey. Anybody else want to share? We're good? Okay. I try really hard to like not ignore anybody. Trust me, it's not because I want to. All right. So the what happens is pain separates us from ourselves. Somebody tells us that, somebody looks at that little belly button, you know, some other kid looks at that belly button and says, what's wrong with you? You're weird, gross. How come your belly button looks like that and it doesn't look like mine, right? And then wonk, that's the beginning, right? That's the beginning that different's not a good thing. I need to be like everybody else. And different can't be different than my family, and different can't be different than the kids at school. I can't be different. I can't be an individual. And we begin to put the lid on everything that makes us special on this planet. So take a deep breath. So some symptoms of separation, and this speaks to what you said earlier, Donna, some symptoms of separation from self, okay, are loneliness, discouragement, apathy, lack of motivation, and hopelessness. Those are some of the symptoms of separation. So what happens is we leave our body, like the little one. It's so cool how this 3-year-old, her belly button's right in the center of her beingness, and she lifts her shirt and she said, see me, look what I got. She's all excited. And that belly button is like right where the core of our being is. And then what happens as soon as there's any kind of criticism, any kind of like judgment, whoops, we go right up and out of our body, up into our head, and we're looking for like, how can I be like everybody else? What do I have to say? What do I have to do? How do I have to change? Or what do I have to hide? What do I have to hide? So we have 3 ways that we do the hiding. We either ignore what's going on, we endure what's going on, or we explore what's going on. So if you're at a workshop like this, what you're doing is you're exploring what's going on. Ignoring what's going on is to just go blank, to say it didn't happen, not real. I'm not, I don't matter, I don't count. Just go away from self and go out here and start to entertain or be what anybody wants you to be. Endure is accept I'm not okay, I'm somehow broken or strange or odd or defective or not capable or whatever the knots are, and just endure it because there's not going to be any other choice. There's not going to be any way out of this because I'm all alone in this. Take a deep breath. So we all do some of all of this, but we have a tendency to default to some of this more than the other. I'm also going to tell you about attitudes that seem to be how people can be divided. One is, we've got that at the slide, Uma. We look at life as something to deal with. It comes at you, you're at the mercy of your experience. Whatever's going on, you just have to endure it. You just have to get through it. You just have to plow. There's no choice about this. Life is something you deal with. You can gripe about it, you can whine about it, but you're not going to get out of it. Life is just, you're at its mercy. Or you believe there's something more and you live with an underlying restlessness and you begin to explore or you explore. Now, you know, these are big fat generalizations, okay? And we all do some of each, but we have a tendency to hang out in one of these attitudes more than the other. And we have times in our lives where we hang out in one of the attitudes more than another. I can give you an example in my life. I got married when I was very, very young to a man, not David. David's my husband. He's here on the screen too. So I got married to a man who was a blackout alcoholic and drinker and violent and all that. I was very young. He was 9 years older than me. And because of my religion, I felt that was it. There's nothing else I could do about this. So I just had to deal. I just had to deal. And it was like, just plow through. And there was no way out. I don't think I've ever experienced loneliness as much as I experienced it in the marriage, because I felt I was trapped in that marriage. There was no way out of that marriage. Until finally, I believe that my children, I had two daughters, very, very young. They weren't very young. I was very young to have them. I had them at the same age as everybody else has their kids, you know, beginning. But I believe that they deserved more than I did, and they deserved better than that. If it hadn't been for them, I'd probably still be in that marriage banging my head against the wall. I didn't have enough me to know that I needed to get out, but I had enough fight for them, and that's how I got out. And I understand that restlessness. Part of the reason I wanted to do this workshop is because I've been living with restlessness, and the restlessness is about aging. You know, this is a very different time in my life to be 75 and have David be 75 also. And this sense of like, there's a lot of stuff that's changing. And there's this restlessness about like, what's next? There's the restlessness about the unknown and a restlessness about what's being left behind or what's in front. But there's also this feeling of there's something more. There's got to be a better way to do whatever I'm doing right now. And it's, for me, it's not like better so I will be judged better, but better that I will have a juicier experience. You know, that I have to have I want a juicier experience. So I'm exploring all the ways in which to be 75. So it's like, it's hard and it's fun and it's painful and it's easy. And it's just a whole lot of things because I'm learning about me in a new way. But that glob that started out as the living seed has changed many, 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 many times over these 75 years. And so there's some of that you go through where you feel like you're just a victim of all of this, and other times where you realize, no, wait a minute, I can do something about that. I can make some different choices. So what I want you to write about right now is, I want you to write about these two attitudes that I'm talking about. This is going to be a little bit longer of a prompt, okay? It's going to take you, we're going to give you at least 5 minutes, okay? And just whatever comes up for you with what I just said, however you experience it, like, you know, she's full of crap. I don't know why she keeps her mouth going, or I can identify, or I can relate, or I don't want to talk about it. Just let yourself have that conversation with yourself. Because that's what all this soul journaling is about. You talking to you, you listening to you. So Uma's going to put a little bit of music on that'll keep you more in your body and less out of your head. Those of you who haven't done this with us before, there's no grammar, there's no spelling, no punctuation. Just, you don't have to make full sentences. Just let the thoughts come. You're gonna get about 1 more minute. Set yourself free. So let yourself wrap up. Don't forget, these are your journals. You can always go back to them. It's a wonderful way to give yourself a date, to give yourself some attention. Looks like you're all really busy. Oh my God, I love courageous women. Does anybody want to share anything anything from the beginning to right now? Anything you're thinking about? Anything you wrote? Rebecca.
Okay, we're not going to get out of a workshop without me sharing.
I love it.
So, from the beginning, I've already got pages here. When you asked about being an individual, and everyone's got a different reason why, but I would say it was funny because my sister and I were just talking about this yesterday.
I
Kindergarten.
mention also that you come from a large family.
Yeah, and I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and we're Air Force brats too. So we're in a different, kind of situation there. But I was talking about when I went to kindergarten, and that's probably the first time I realized I was an individual. I always knew I was pretty individual. I was the only Rebecca in class until it became a popular name in the 80s and 90s. So, but I think when I went to kindergarten, because I was the only one there, I didn't have any sisters at that time. My brother, I don't know if he was born yet or not. I can't remember, because I was only 5. I was a young school kid too, so I was 5. But that was really my first one. I was like, I'm here by myself, as a little 5-year-old. But with this exercise, I love this attitudes. I was writing down before you even told us to write down. I was just like, I live in both of them. But, and I'm not big about the buts, but I just want to write down what I wrote. Okay. Or I'll read what I wrote. I feel I vacillate between the two on the daily, morning, noon, and night. I might be moving out of the first one as it just comes at you because it's taking it on with full intention of living it. But I still feel I'm on the bench waiting for my number to be called. With retirement in a full year now, not of my choice, but like I'm shedding a lot of behaviors. So that's why I feel like I'm getting out of the first step. I'm shedding a lot of behaviors, a lot of what ifs, a lot of should, coulds, and woulds, and just doing it. And then I said about the restlessness, it's always there, always has been. And then I go, what comes next? What am I waiting for? Why am I waiting? Waiting for what? And so I've been in Irene knows me personally, and I've been in the process of just doing it, like I think we're getting on a plane and going to Hawaii on the 11th of July. No planning. We're just going to go. And so that's kind of where I'm at with, tamping down some of that restlessness and stuff, just doing it. So that's what I have to share.
Great. Love the sharing. Love it. And and one of the things that you're separated from is an old life where everything was told to you, when you're working and as hard as you work too. And for so many years in the same job, there was a whole lot of here's how you're going to do it. And as much as that takes away your individuality, it also gives you places to kind of check the list. Like, oh, I got a raise, so I was doing it right. Oh, they said I was okay, so I must be doing it right. Or, oh, they just laid me off. Whoa, did I do something wrong? Even if it doesn't feel logical, because that whole template, that whole schedule, that whole way to identify yourself has been eliminated.
Yes.
And that's the ing, the ing, the becoming, it's a process. It's a process. And I show this to everybody all the time. It looks like this.
Yeah.
It's a movement. It's a movement forward, but we all want a straight line. We want it to be, oh, did that, that's good. Oh, that should be okay. Oh, that's good, you know, and it doesn't work that way. That's why we vacillate. And the word I would give you instead of but, it was taught to me a long time at Landmark, and that is and. There are times when I feel like I'm a victim of life, and there are times when I feel I have a whole lot of choice. It's not but, you know, we have both those things going on at the same time.
Yeah,
Life is just full of a whole lot of tapestry of experience, of feelings to go with an experience. You wanted to
yeah,
say
that's what,
something?
32, almost 33 years of the same job. I was highly involved with unions and stuff, but I remember this lady, her name was Ida Torres, and she worked, she was from New York City. She was very, very old. Like she would read, and she would read like this. She couldn't read unless the thing was like 3 inches away from her with glasses on. But she taught us in the class. She would take us, and because she always called me Miss New Hampshire, uh, they would say, how do you identify yourself? And everyone would say, I'm a sister, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm this and that. And then she would always say, you're a worker. You're a worker first. Everything else is after that. So, that was 22 years ago, and I can still see her little face in front of me saying that, like this close to me, and that makes an impression on you when someone says that. Well, then when you're no longer a worker. I mean, Irene and I were just talking the other day. I said, I feel like I should get a job. And she's like, why do you feel that way? I go, I don't know. I just feel like I should be working because I'm young and everyone's complaining there's not enough workers, but I also don't want to go work and, you know, at a restaurant.
You don't wanna.
I don't want to. I want to travel.
Yeah, yeah. But to give yourself the freedom to do that, to know it's okay to be an individual who can afford to do that today.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. You didn't start out with a bag full of money.
No, but you still have that, like, oh, I'm 62 and I plan on living to 98. I have 36 years. I have to stretch this money out. And then I go, stop thinking that way. Just stop thinking about it. So anyway, that's my story.
This is a little side comment, but I worked with, I used to coach a group of financial investors, and I didn't coach them on financial investing, trust me. I coached them on all the emotional sides of money and all that stuff, and they were dealing with high wealth people. So they had a lot of emotional stuff they were dealing with the clients. But one of the things that they taught me is one of the hardest things financial investors have to do is to get their clients to spend their money when it's time. Because you've been so geared not to spend it. You've been so geared to like save, 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 save. And they have to keep saying, it's time. Hello. Well, no, I'm a saver, and I'm proud of being a saver. And I gotta, and it's okay. And they constantly have to tell people because it was so scary for people to identify themselves in a whole new way.
Yes.
Thanks, honey. Thanks for your sharing. Does anybody else want to share? Oh, Cindy, great. Go for it. I can't hear you.
Cindy, we can't hear. I'm going to ask to unmute you. There should be a pop-up and you can say yes. And I'll unmute you. Oh. You can also take your mouse and go to the bottom of the screen and kind of mouse over the bottom, and then you should see mute on the bottom left, and then or unmute and click that once.
Looks
Yeah,
like
I
she-
think it just worked.
Yep, it did.
Yep, you got it.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I totally identified where you are age-wise.
With Rebecca?
No, with you.
Oh, with me. Okay.
And some of her too, but I'm just really struggling to come to grips with what I can't do that I could do 5 years ago.
Mhm, mhm.
And one of the things that I realize is I have a really hard time asking somebody to help me do something. And I'm alone. And I just remember even when my husband was alive that I'd ask him, with help for something, and he'd say, well, I don't have time right now. Or he would really just do it right then for me when it was, something that would take 5 minutes. And
So I think over the years, I've just learned it's not okay to ask for help. Just figure
Did
it
you,
out yourself.
did you have some of that as a child too? It wasn't okay to ask for help?
Oh, right. Yeah,
I mean, which is probably why you picked the husband you picked.
probably.
Because you were trained for that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I realized is this week I um, came down with um, some symptoms, some health issues, and I reached out for help. And I was told that no, couldn't see me. And
You mean to the professional? The professional wouldn't help you?
right,
Okay.
the professional's office.
Okay.
I couldn't get past gal that picks up the phone.
Yeah.
And she kept saying, well, did you do this? And did you do that? And it was like, I finally ended up saying, I spent my career in nursing in ophthalmology. I know what I'm talking about. And still I couldn't get to first base. But luckily on Thursday, I was able to see an osteopath for other things that I have going on. And he ended up having to call to get me seen. And, I've been so angry since. And, I think that reaching out and asking for help because it's important. And
If this were your child or your pet, would you stop asking? Would you just keep banging on the door until somebody answered you?
I'd
Or
keep banging.
or your patient?
I'd keep going. I would keep moving.
And you did, you found somebody else and you let somebody else help you. But that's
Right.
a part of being like a warrior for yourself. And
Mm,
part of what we do in that separation from self is that's where that helplessness comes from, or that hopelessness comes from. Nobody's listening to me, so what the F? Why bother? Right?
right.
It's like a default. We kind of collapse into that. And it's also us having a hard time recognizing I have vulnerability here. I think probably one of the things I dislike the most about aging is the vulnerability. And it's also one of the things that's given me the most clarity about myself too. There's an openness in that vulnerability that makes you like, I don't know, it makes me a lot more tender with myself. I can either be judging myself or becoming a lot more tender with myself. There's a flipping back and forth between that.
Mm.
Good to hear you. Anybody else want to share? Oh, good. Lori.
I just wanted to, something that Rebecca said, was talking about kind of made me realize, so I'm still working full time and excuse me, I'm 63. I always want to say 62, but it's not, it's 63. And I'm so terrified of retiring, even though right now I could retire and I probably should retire because I have a lot of health issues. And even though I'm working from home, going to work every day is real kind of a struggle. But I'm so afraid to leave because I'm afraid to that's my identity, and that's the only one, that's the only identity, that's the only part of the identity I have that I can still hang on to as it's solid. I'm a good worker. I've always been a good worker, and that's good. The rest of my life, I don't know, a little questionable. So I'm afraid to leave work. And it's hard. Yeah.
Take a deep breath. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a whole lot of sense. Breathe. Okay. Anyone else want to share? You can share on anything we've talked about. No? Okay. So what I want you to look at now is when we talk about the fact that we went through these times of feeling like we weren't okay to be us, right? We all develop masks that we wear. We wear them all the time. One of the things that you see with people since we're talking about aging, but it's not just about aging, is this face of ours or this body of ours becomes this giant mask that we wear. And we're always trying to make it look different, like not getting caught with how it really is. But that's not the only mask I'm talking about. I'm talking about the mask of the worker mask, or the mask of the, I know for me, for a long time, before I found Al-Anon, a 12-step program, I was just I don't know how to describe it, but I'll take care of that. I'll be responsible for that. I'll volunteer for that. I'm the one you can always count on, and do that and do that and do that and do that and run myself ragged. And then, get all pissy and bitchy because I don't have enough time. And doesn't anybody else realize what has to be done? And my husband would remind me over and over again, you volunteered for that. You volunteered for that. You didn't, no one asked you, no one made you do it. You keep volunteering. And I didn't like him. I just wanted to like punch him, like, shut up, stop being real, stop telling me what I need to look at. And it's that because, and when I would put down, like when I would start saying no or setting up boundaries, all this would come up and argue about it because I really liked being seen as the competent one, the one that would get it done, the one that was always there. That mask had to be taken off in order for me to be something else. And I think that's exactly what Laurie and Rebecca are saying, that we've got to take the worker mask off. It's the role that we've played. We've got to take that off. And that feels very, very naked. It feels like, whoa, what am I here now? What am I? Oh, I have to remember I'm that glob of life force that started a long, long time ago. And that glob was fine just being that 3-year-old that came down the stairs and said, see my belly button? Just see my belly button, because I'm really excited about my belly button. I'd like you to be excited about my belly button, right? I mean, that's called joy. That's called joy with self. There was no mask on that child. There's just joy with that child until we tell ourselves, nope, it's not all right to do that. Somebody might make fun of it. Oop, I did it wrong. Oop, I did it wrong. And we shrivel and shrivel and shrivel and put a lock down on top of that glob of life that we are. So what I want you to write about now is, yeah, we're just going to write about roles or masks, or what, when I say mask, what mask do you think you're wearing? What masks have you worn that you've taken off? What masks are you hiding underneath right now? And a lot of times that mask is a mask we're hiding from ourselves. Like a big mask that I had on for years and years was that I could drink. And when I found out I was an alcoholic, I didn't want to take that mask off. I didn't want that mask to come off. I didn't want that story. I didn't want it to be that. I didn't want that at all. But it was kicking me. It was kicking me and kicking my ass is what it was doing. I needed to let it go. But they all don't have to be that dramatic, okay? But we wear masks. So we're going to put some music on and I'm going to give you another 3 minutes. So take a breath. One of the ways you can think about this is, what would surprise other people to find out about you that you've kept hidden? And I'm not talking about opening up a shameful place. I'm just talking about opening up something about you that would really surprise people. And what has surprised you about yourself? Like when I described that about finding out I was an alcoholic, I was shocked. I thought I had it all settled, under control. What masks have you been wearing? Who do you wear those masks with? Do you behave differently with different people? Keep the pen moving. The thoughts will come. Okay, so finish it up. So we have time for one or two people to share if you'd like to. Just remember that your sharing helps other people. It sparks other people's memories, or it sparks a chord with other people. So everybody has something important to share, I promise. Okay, Sharon, I see your hand up.
Yeah, it was a mistake. I was trying to get, I'm sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
have written a lot, but I just didn't want to. Sorry.
You don't have to share if you don't want to. That's fine, honey.
Okay.
Bonnie, you want to share?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You weren't even done explaining the sort of process, and I've been doing what's called tapping, if anybody's familiar with that, with someone every once in a while. And I'm going to be 60 this year, and I had braces as a kid. And so I've spent my life, one of the few things that I really liked about myself was my teeth and, my smile. And I've been losing my teeth. I have 2 teeth missing right now in the front. And what you pointed out, what came up in the tapping, I should say, is the mask of smiling. And I can't hide behind that anymore. That's what I always did, just smile, yeah, good.
So the smile
And-
lots of
and
times
lo-
wasn't, the
losing-
smile lots of times wasn't genuine. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, most of the time wasn't genuine.
Oh.
Smile, I'm good, everything's
Okay.
fine kind of thing. And And it's like life is, life, whatever you believe, the universe, life, God, my higher power, myself, whatever. Losing my teeth is pushing me to face what I wasn't facing,
Wow.
and with people, more, being more real. Thanks. There was more, but that's all I need to share.
That's brave of you to share that, hon. And boy, that makes a lot of sense. We do hide behind smiling all the time, or a joke, or absolutely. Good for you. Good for you. Anyone else want to share? Anything down in Florida?
Wahida just raised her hand.
Oh yeah, Wahida, go ahead. We'll take Austin, Texas.
Just have to unmute yourself.
Are you there? Can you hear?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I guess my biggest thing right now is trying to figure out how to not be guilty for becoming me.
Oh.
So, sorry.
No, Wahida, this sounds like it's really pushing a big button for you, honey. Let yourself breathe. It's okay. That's what this journaling does. It opens us up to these conversations with ourselves. You have nothing to apologize for. Go ahead, honey.
So in my life, I've gone through a lot. And the past 3 to 4 years, it's been more. Gone through losing the man of my life, which was my father. And then from there, I was in grad school, working full time, unfortunately in a toxic relationship. And I was always just going, and didn't know how to work with giving myself enough of me, as you said earlier, and trying to get out of something that was not healthy for me. But, after losing a father within a 2.5-year span, I lost a father, was going to grad school, working full time, and then I was hit with dealing with a divorce. So, I was always, that mask I had on was always the helper, not the helpee, the doer, the strongest person for everyone. I come with a family of, there's 8 children, but I was always my dad's right hand, like I was the strong one. If he needed help with something, I was always there. If he needed me to rescue or, help somebody else in the family, he always knew he could count on me. So I put that pressure on myself, even though I was going through so many other things. I didn't know how to say to myself, it's okay to say no. So I was fighting with that for a really long time. Mm-hmm. So for the first time, after 30 years, being in California, I decided, I got this opportunity to move and kind of get away from everybody, and start a new chapter, start trying to figure out, who I really was at that time, because I had joy, I had acceptance, I had validation, I felt value, and I wasn't feeling any of that anymore. Being around the friends and the family in California, and when I was speaking to my therapist over the past several years, they said, I kept telling her, and I said, I've lost so many friends. And and even family. And she said, you know, Wahida, it's very common when you go through losing a parent that you lose some people that aren't going to be there for you. They're not going to understand what a loss is, especially for somebody like you, where your dad was your life.
Well,
And
also for somebody like you who is always the competent one. Lots of times nobody thinks the competent one needs any help.
and
Right.
I felt the same way after my divorce. I lost a lot of other friends because they didn't understand how it felt to go through a divorce. So now I'm in a new place, in a new state, because I felt like I just wanted to be in a different environment. But now that I'm here, I'm trying to work on how to not feel guilty for becoming somebody that I want to be better. I want to do more in life. I want to give myself so much that I know my dad would have wanted me to give to myself. But I'm struggling with not feeling guilty for being the best version of myself. But then
I'm
everybody,
sure it feels selfish to you. I'm sure it feels, and it's odd, it's different. I did a workshop on transition, and I'll have Uma remind me, and I'll send you a copy of that video, because you are so what's called the hallway. In the beginning of transition, you're saying goodbye to a lot, and then you're standing in a hallway before you reinvent yourself or recreate yourself. All right. And that's that spiral, it's moving, it's moving, it's moving. But now all your foundation is changed. It's the same thing that happens to people when they go through a death, the death of a spouse, or the death of a child, or a job closes down. You're in a hallway of completely re-identifying yourself. And that's a very uncomfortable place, but it's also an incredibly rich, vital place. It's like when the fields have been turned over. Nothing's growing yet, but man, it's all getting ready, and all the richness is coming on up to the surface. So thank you for sharing, hon. I really appreciate it. And Uma, if you remind me to send her that video, okay? You were brave to share.
thank you. Thank you for listening.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share? Have I scared you all away? All right, a lot to think about. Okay, so all right, so now we move to the place of, so what do we do with this? We're letting go of the mass, or we're recognizing the mass. We remember that there was a time when it was fun to be us. It might have been way, way back there. Bonnie said she has a hard time remembering the young stuff. But I can promise you that when we all arrived here on the planet, we all had a lot of juice inside. We all felt pretty good about ourselves. For some of us, that celebration of self got squashed very, very early. Some of us, we got to stay there for a little while longer, okay? This is a little side note, but when I was in grad school, there was this great book that we read, and I cannot remember the name of it. I thought it was Worlds of Pain, but I'm not sure about that. Anyway, this grad student, what she did to get her PhD was she studied 13 people who all should have been like in jail. They all should have been, given their childhoods and given what they lived through, they all should have either been dead, or they should have been in jail, or drug addicts, under a bridge somewhere. And all of them were successful. There was like a superintendent of schools, there was a nursing supervisor, there were teachers. They were all successful, living very, healthy, contributing to society. And she wanted to know what was the difference with them and the people who ended up in jail. And the difference for every single one of them was the same. There were 1 or 2 or 3 people in their life who helped them to remember who they really were. It could have been like a football coach, or it could have been like a special teacher. It could have been an aunt. And they didn't have to be doing it all the time. But I always thought of it like, like there's this river, and each one of these people were a big rock where the person could like stand on that rock to get to the next rock to get over to the shore of their life, you know, and they could name those people specifically. And that's a blessing. That's, you know, that's a blessing that for most of us, we've had somebody that we can think of like that. Anyway, and I know you all have had those people in your life too, and we have them in our life today. We have to like remember them. So the one thing that gets us to connect from the separation, you know, the separation that we go through when we leave the good glob, the life force, and we say, I got to be something else. I got to entertain people. I got to do something else. I can't let them know what's down in here because I'm going to get judged. It's not good. Or I could get hit. I could get beat. I could get all kinds of things, right? I can't let them see me. So I go into hiding and I become whatever these masks are. What connects us back is compassion. The definition of compassion, I'll put that one up, Uma. The definition of compassion in Webster's dictionary, because I'm sure you're all excited about this, is a concern for sufferings of others. Oh, wait a minute. Concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. Compassion dissolves guilt and shame. I added that. But compassion in the dictionary says concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. What I wanted to say is, and ourselves. Concern for our sufferings, concern for our misfortunes. Like what happened way back? In the exploration, we take a look at it and we have some compassion and not judgment for ourselves. The looking at ourselves with empathy, the looking at ourselves with appreciation, the looking at ourselves with, okay, what did I learn from that? I'm not stuck in that story anymore. I don't have to be stuck in that story anymore. But what I can promise you will keep us stuck in that story will be regrets. Regrets will keep us stuck in the story. And as we age or get older or make changes, we often have a lot of regrets. You know, if I had my act together, I wouldn't have made the decision to marry that idiot or that guy or take that job or, you know, whatever. I can remember the first time I recognized that I was not a spring chicken anymore. David and I we had bought a camper down in an over 55 park, right? And I just thought that, you know, it was just weird, like, oh, we're in an over 55 park. And it was down in Florida. And I looked around and everybody looked very, very old to me, right? And these people came over and they were the activity directors. I mean, they were volunteering with that and they were really nice. And they came over and they said, there's a lot of fun stuff to do here. You're welcome. We invite you, blah, blah, blah. And when they left, I thought to myself, oh my God, they're so old. What do they think we're going to do with them? Well, I was 61 at the time. And the woman who was talking to me was 56, you know? And it was like, you're such a horse's ass, Irene. You really, really are. But it was just, I couldn't believe we were there. It was just such a shock, just a shock that we were there. And then the sense of where it comes with the compassion was this sense of, I should have gone to the gym more. I should have eaten better. I should have exercised more. Like somehow I'd committed a crime because I became older, because I wasn't as strong as I used to be, because I wasn't as flexible as I used to be, you know? And I spent my 60s beating myself up about that. Oh, and I should have earned more money. Mother of God, you know, I certainly don't have as much money as all these other people have. I really screwed it up. Those were the regrets. And they were like full steam ahead. There was no compassion for myself. It's a process. And regrets hold us to our old stories. Regrets hold us into guilt and hold us into shame. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to take a deep breath. I'm going to ask you to do some more writing. And I want you to make a list of your regrets. You don't have to share them with us, Absolutely don't. But I want you to just write these regrets down. I regret fill in the blank. I regret fill in the blank. I regret fill in the blank. Don't make any excuses about it. Don't give it any reasons. Just write it down. It doesn't have to make sense. We'll take a little bit of music. Boom, okay. It gets them out of their head. Keep rewriting the words, I regret, I regret, I regret. I'm not going to give you too long with this one. I just want you to like blow them out of your body. I regret, I regret. Some of them will be little, some of them will feel big. You can always come back here. How do you feel about those? What do they feel like in your body? Everything on that list, if a friend came by and told you about what they regretted and how they hated themselves for it, or how they couldn't get out of their own way because of it, what would you say to them? Or, you know, how much easier it is for us to give compassion to somebody else than to give compassion to ourselves. We're so incredibly hard on ourselves. If you listen to the self-talk inside your head sometimes, don't you think, oh my God, if you heard somebody in a restaurant talking to somebody else the way you talk to yourself inside your head when you're at your worst, I mean, you'd be horrified, right? If there's one thing that I can say about being 75 is I have a lot more compassion for myself. I think there's something about, I don't know, there's something about being at this age that's like giving myself a break. I'm so, so grateful for it too. So grateful. Because I was such a judge of myself for so flippin' long, and I'm so sick of it. My mother, who died of Alzheimer's, you know, when somebody has Alzheimer's for a long time, every once in a while they have like a lucid moment, you know, and it's like almost like the blinds come open and you see them for a moment and then they go back in. And one time she said something to me about, and she was my age where I am now, and she said, you know what I like about me? My legs work, and I don't have to be on dialysis. My body works. I used to be so worried about my weight. Now I'm just glad it all works. I'm no longer worried about my weight. I'm just glad it all works. And then she went back behind the curtain, and I never forget that, because I thought, she's right. She's right. You know? Does anybody want to share anything from the list? Or you don't have to share the list specifically, but you might want to share what it feels like. We got about a minute. Anybody just want to be heard? David, go ahead, honey. No, you need sound, hon. You need sound.
Asked to unmute you, David. You can just say yes to that and then you'll be unmuted.
You got to tap that with your cursor.
We still can't hear you. You can either, there should be a pop-up that comes up and you can say yes to it. It's basically asking if you want to unmute.
Okay, I unmuted it. Yep.
Great.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well, a regret that came right up for me was that when my brother got married, that was a long time ago. He wanted me to be his best man. And that was the plan. Irene and I had been married only for a couple of years at the time, and we didn't have any money, but we were living out here in New England. And so my dad volunteered to pay my airfare to fly me out so I could be my brother's best man at his wedding. And my sister, older sister, got wind of it. This is a dysfunctional family where the kids were pretty separate from each other. Got wind of that dad was funding me to fly out there. She made some kind of a comment about, oh, he's bailing you out again, Dave. And I got so angry and pissed that I didn't even go to my brother's wedding. And that just came right up as we're much closer now, but that was a really strong regret. Based on being pissed off at one of my siblings.
And anger is always, always on top of fear or sadness and hurt. So he was pissed off, but there was a lot of hurt underneath that because there was a part of him that was judging himself for not being able to afford to do it.
Because I wasn't making, I wasn't human, so we just weren't making enough money at that time, couldn't afford it. And the charge cards were probably maxed out, so there was, so my dad, anyway, that's enough. It's a jealousy among siblings. I got a gift from my dad. I'm sure her mindset was, well, what about me? And then she attacked. I get the dynamics.
Do you have compassion for yourself about that?
I do now. Yeah, I do.
Anyone else want to share? Donna.
Hi there. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, the first thing that popped up for me was some of the behaviors that I had as a teenager. I do regret a lot of that, but if I really look at it, I know why that happened. And so I do try to have more compassion for myself. But it's still a regret. It's still there. But at least I am able to better look at why that was, why that young child behaved the way she did. What was she really looking for?
Can you breathe into that? Okay. And that's a great segue for our next little exercise. So in this one, I want you to find a blank piece of paper in your book. Okay, get away from the writing. You might want to hold it horizontally. And I want you to make 3 stick figures. One stick figure is a younger you. The other stick figure is you today. And the third stick figure is your person, your adult, your woman or man of tomorrow, your future person. So you're going to put your young you, your you of today, and your future person. So it's past, present, future. I want you to breathe into this, and I want you to write some adjectives, some descriptive words of your younger you, some descriptive words of you of today, and I want you to write some descriptive words of your person of the future, your man or your woman of the future. What do you want to say to your younger you? You can write that out. What do you want to say to you of today? And what do you want to say or ask of your person of the future? Good job, y'all. You know, you can always come back. You're going to get the video and you can all come back and you can work on these exercises some more. You know, and in 2 hours, it's like every topic I give everybody, we could spend the weekend doing it, okay? And the idea is just to get you started and stimulated. You know, when I'm always telling people, oh, journal, 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 and they'll be saying, well, what do I journal about? How do I journal? And I'm always hoping that these workshops will give you places to like kick yourself off into your writing, you know, when you spend some time and have a conversation with yourself. You matter, you count, you deserve it. Um, Anybody want to share a little bit? Well, I've got a couple of minutes before we start to close up.
I can share, Irene, if you want.
Who just said that to me?
Anna,
Oh yeah, hi Anna.
hi, sweetheart. How are you?
Good.
I did the three. For the younger self, the past, I put lost, sad, lonely, afraid, and unsure. And my message was, you know, you are okay, because, you know, you're thinking you're not the whole time. For my present self, I put getting in touch with self, curious, in transition, learning and listening, open and healing, and that I am okay today. And then my future self, I put loving, accepting, content, grateful, peaceful, real, kind, happy to be alive. And then I wrote, thank you for coming along.
Oh, cool. What does she say to you? Your woman of the future.
Yourself, the future.
Yeah, what does she say to you, the woman who's sitting right there on the couch?
The future saying to me, to the woman.
What is the future woman saying to you sitting right there on the couch? What's the first thought you think of?
To be happy, that it's okay and let go.
Does it feel like she's saying it to you in a loving way or a punitive way or what?
No, not punitive. No. I
So
think
you-
it's back to what you're saying about the compassion. That's like a foreign language to me. I'm more in judgment, not enough, you didn't do it right. Like, I want a complete do-over of the past, every 100 mistakes. I don't really focus on anything that I've done or accomplished, or the good is like this small, and it's just a mindset that I was raised in. It's just a new learning for me. That's all. So
It's a lot because I think that's for a lot of us. We're all being told, find your bliss, do that, do this. And it's like, come on home. Just come on home with some gentleness to yourself. So when she said that to you, did it feel like she was saying it from some real warmth, like some compassion?
yeah, and just like a calmness, and I wasn't raised in calm. I'm raised in chaos. So I really am attracted to calm. Like, you have a very calm voice too, which I love. And so that kind of draws me into people. I've always been drawn to people like that, completely opposite than myself, which is what I always wanted. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't like yourself, you want people that are different than you, in some ways. It's familiar, and you have people in your life that are like you, but I was always fascinated by people different than me.
That's one of the key words to use when you're looking for clues to what your passion is or what your direction might be, or words like, I was really curious about that, I'm really fascinated by that. That's telling you that there's something inside you longing for that. Good job, you. And so that pillow exercise, you said, I'm always moving, I'm always busy. I forget how you said it, but when you hold that, you don't know peace, but when you held that pillow, didn't you find some peace? Yeah. Can I share what I suggested, and I've suggested it to a lot of the women in this, and even to David. It's like when you can't, like, when you're all flying around, and you can't, like, that restlessness that keeps you just like, what's up? There's got to be something better than this, something more, something, whatever. If you just take a pillow and just hold it like you're holding that stick figure of yesterday, or you're even holding the one of today, let it be your adult of the future, just holding you. Just hold on, because that pillow will bring you back to your core, to your center. Peace is in us. Peace is in us. It's our egos and our brains that have a problem with it. Peace is there. And compassion is so peaceful. Okay. Anyone else want to share? Uma's looking at me. The clock's ticking, Irene, she's saying. I don't mean to shut you down. Anybody want to share, please share. And you don't have to be specific. Okay, Rebecca, go for it.
Okay, I'll just do a fast share.
That's okay.
Part of my artistic talents I have in life are stick figures.
Oh, cool.
So I drew my stick figures. I have a little girl and she has a little dress, and then I have me now. I have like shorts and t-shirt on, and then my older me is in like a longer dress. But surprisingly, I made the same hairstyles for the younger me and the older me. So I have like I just read this. I just wrote this stuff really quick. The younger me was, let's play house, board games. I love school. When will I get to leave the house? So I must have just transitioned right into like from 2 to 18 in those few words. But I loved her share when she said unsure, because that, that's a big one. And the one I have for the right now me, active me, changing me, wanting less me, be happy me, willing me, and that I'm always enough. I am enough. And
Mm.
the older me is, I loved her word content, because that's what I still plan on being active me, so I don't know. It's kind of like that thing, like you said, you're talking to someone, it's like, what's that old lady you say? And you find out, oh, I'm 6 years older than that old lady. When did we all get old? I'm not old. Why are you old? But
And I
when
couldn't
I,
believe the amount of shame that came up for me.
yeah, and when
Like
I
I
get
had done
old,
something wrong. You know, all these people have these $200,000 RVs and I couldn't even come close to having one of those, and I'm flabby and, it's like, what? I did it all wrong. I did it all wrong. I want to read you.
I know, but so anyway, that was mine. I just wanted that you tapped into my artistic talent for today, the stick figures.
So you want to breathe into that? Because you have a lot of artistic talent.
I do good stick figures.
Well, you also are a very good writer.
So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys, because everyone else is quiet. So I figure I'll put something out there.
Thank you. We're going to hear from Florida, Lorna. Are you putting your audio on?
Yeah, I'll send a ask to unmute message, and then you should be able to just say yes to that. There you go.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm unmuted.
Got it.
I said that my future self is kicking up my heels, and I drew a picture of me kicking up my heels.
Fabulous.
Evolving into old age race, kicking up my heels. Oh, come on.
We're losing you a bit, Lorna. If you want to turn your
Yeah.
video off for a second.
Because I don't like, present is okay. Past is not, child is not, but okay.
Good job.
Can
So
you hear me?
Lorna, why is the present not
Thanks,
okay?
I tried.
So you did fine. Why is the present not okay, Lorna?
It's a real conglomeration of fear with joy.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of scare things going on. There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't see that for future old lady. It's like, the hell with it all. Just kick them up.
Oh, good. I think probably most of us could join you in that. It's a mix. It's a mixed bag. Being in the now is a very mixed bag. Thank you for sharing. All right, is there anyone who's dying to say something before I close us out? Diane, will you just say hi? Good to see you, beautiful girl. Okay.
Good to see you too.
Thank you, honey. Thank you very much. All right, so take a deep breath. One of the words that I'd like you to look at, we're going to talk about it in future workshops, is a word by Carl Rogers, and it's called congruency. And congruency means that we've got this together. We've connected this. And compassion brings us into congruency. It makes us authentic. Authentic is, it's just being real with ourselves. It's not about, well, I'll tell that son of a bitch what I really think. Okay, that's not necessarily authentic. That's called blunt. Authentic is when you are true to yourself and you know who self is. And if you've got any judgment going with self, that's not authentic. That's learned behavior. So that's just an introduction to congruency. The next workshop, we're going to put that sign up there. The last one, what's going to happen on our next, okay. The next online workshop is going to happen on August the 8th. I'm not going to do one during July. I just don't really have the time for it. So August 8th, It's pajamas, coffee, and personal freedom. And we're going to just move on with a lot of the same kind of themes and more. Okay. I'm really, really grateful for all of you. I want to remind you all that it would be very helpful to me when you receive the emails, if you would be willing to mail them to some of your friends, and put any kind of words of encouragement on it, because it would help increase the amount of money that I'm able to send to my dear ones in South Africa. And right now it's very, very difficult times for them. The, what do you call it? The new strain of the virus is really, really bad there. What's the word for it? What's the word for the new strain? The variant. The variant is really, really strong there, and it's very, very difficult. I mean, literally our money goes to put food on the table, to buy a little bit of petrol, to buy electricity. They buy it like with cards. The people in the settlement that I'm working with. So if you could spread the word, that would be very, very helpful. If you ever want to put up any kind of a testimonial to what you got out of the workshops, you don't have to sign your name. That would be really helpful too. If you have any complaints, love to have you put them in the survey. It comes out at the end of this, right, Uma? You've got them in the...
Yes.
Yeah, just the survey for the feedback. And
Yeah.
any ideas you have about future workshops. Thank you so much, everybody.
Before you go, Irene, there was a really important slide that we had written up. Can I share it really quick?
Sure.
Okay, 1 second. So it's this tools slide of like kind of the next things. Do you want to talk about this slide?
No, you go right ahead.
Okay, well, we thought it was important to let you know about some tools on this journey to becoming you. So saying goodbye to toxic relationships, people, situations, goodbye to toxic self-talk, developing self-compassion, and practicing soul journaling. And Rebecca had a really great idea to send the slides with the video. So I will talk with Irene and Teresa about that to get that to you as well.
Yeah, sure.
It's a great idea. And then this goals slide that we had. Again, we'll send the slides out to you, but these are just some thoughts as you're working with this topic on your journey.
To develop a self, because no self-care, develop self-compassion, trusting and believing yourself, believing what self is telling you. A big reason for anxiety is that people deny what their gut is telling them. And so they end up with a lot of like this, the ego is going, no, 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 no. And the truth is coming up like, no, you need to change that. No, 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 no. That's a lot. And what we get taught in this culture is medicated. Congruency is authenticity. It's when you're in agreement with yourself. And you can tell you're not in agreement with yourself if you're in conflict. If there's a lot of ba inside, you can just know that you're not congruent, you're not in any kind of authenticity with yourself. The shoulds, coulds, would'ves are fighting with the what is, and what is perfect. So thank you all very much. Okay, did I do my job, Uma?
Perfect.
Okay. Love you all. Have a wonderful
Thank you so much, Irene.
day.
Thank you so much.